Hey everyone, it's Tom here from thisonlineworld.com. I hope you're having an awesome day today. Now, if you've ever searched for the question, should I go to college? You've probably seen videos like this, and like this, and like this, that all tell you, college is a terrible idea and it's a waste of money and you shouldn't go. I think that these videos are great and all, but they often come from people who are already very successful or, they're millionaires or they started their own business, which is totally legitimate. But today I kind of want to use some data to show the pros and cons of making this decision. This is a personal finance channel after all, and I think going to college has some pretty major financial implications, and the same is true for deciding not to go. I'm also going to include some resources in case you don't want to go to school. There's something in this video for everyone, so be sure to watch until the end. Without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off with the question of, are schools going to be open in September and can you actually go to college? It seems like for the most part schools are reopening. According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, pretty much most schools are deciding to open their doors in September. Some are going to take on a hybrid model, especially for first year students. And then you have about 20 to 25% kind of still scratching their heads, just waiting to see what's going to happen. And about 6% have said they're going to be online. In this video, I'm assuming you can go to a school that's going to be largely in person, because I think online classes are kind of a different issue, and I honestly wouldn't pay full price for just an online education. So now it's time to talk a bit more about kind of the financial decision that is going to college or not going to college. I'm going to give a bit of context here so you know where I graduated from, how much it costs, and why I personally think I made the wrong degree choice, but I'm still happy I went to college in the end. I graduated in 2018 from the University of Guelph with a psychology degree. I really didn't like my degree. I started out school with pretty good grades, and by the time I was ending my degree, I was getting 50s and 60s. I was eventually kicked out of the internship program. I didn't go to as many classes as I probably should have, and overall I'm not a psychologist. I do not use my degree in terms of it getting me a job. Tuition was about $4,000 to $5,000 per semester, so when all is said and done, a 4-year degree is about $40,000 or more in cost. Now, I'm still glad I went to college for reasons I'm going to get into, and I also just want to preface this by saying that I don't think going to college makes you smarter or better or puts you on this elite status compared to people who choose not to go to college. This is really a video where I'm going to use some data to try and hopefully help people approach this decision more critically rather than emotionally. And at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you. So let's look at what the Bureau of Labor Statistics has to say about what getting a degree or not getting a degree does to your finances on average. Again, there's lots of videos that say don't go to college, start your own business and you can make it big. But in reality, 80% of businesses fail within their first year. Everything in this video is going to be an average. It's not going to be based on outliers who struck it big by never going to college, or people who went to college and it got them $1 million job because they were top of their class. This is all averages and it's what the data says. So here's a chart that shows you the median weekly earnings if you get a degree or don't get a degree, and different levels of education and what it does for your finances. If you just get a high school diploma, it seems the average median income is about $712 per week. As you get an associate's degree or you get some college experience or a bit of education, that slowly increases. If you get a bachelor's degree, you're looking at about $1,200 on average per week in income. Now, a master's degree doesn't really seem to boost it that much, and I'm not going to get into PhDs or doctorates because again, I'm looking at averages here, and I think that's a pretty narrow section of society. And if you can go to school for 12 plus years, bless you, because that's more than I could do. If we switch this chart over to show unemployment, you see that there's also a correlation between more education and less unemployment on average. Clearly, the decision to get a degree versus not get a degree on average has positive financial implications for you. The more education you get, the higher likelihood you have to get a job, and typically the more you make per week. So there's this financial advantage, but really the question here is taking on student debt or paying for this degree, this piece of paper we get and we put up on our wall, is this worth the cost? Personally, I think there's really two main mistakes that people make when deciding to go to college and how it relates to their finances. The first mistake is to choose the most expensive and prestigious school in your state or in the country. I'm a firm believer that self-education is truly what's important, and your skills at the end of the day are what actually make you succeed or not. A degree in many ways is what gets your foot in the door, but if that door stays open, is up to you. And I mean, we're already seeing many massive companies, especially in tech, drop their degree requirements for hiring. I mean, these are companies like Apple or IBM or Google that really don't care anymore where you went to school or if you went to school. They just care about how good you are at what you do. So let's look at programming as an example. If you went to a state college that was much more affordable, or you did a quick 2-year program, but you taught yourself a lot of the skills you needed to learn on the side using the internet or free resources or inexpensive guides, I think you stand a pretty good chance of succeeding without having to take on, $100,000 of debt by going to a prestigious school. And the second financial mistake I think people make when they decide to go to college is they chase passion over logic. And I'll explain what I mean here. Just because you're passionate about something, it doesn't mean you're good at it, and it also doesn't mean it can pay the bills. Again, you have to treat the decision to pursue an education largely as a financial decision, aside from, your lifestyle choices and what you want to do. I'll give you an example. I really love history, and for a while I thought about being a history teacher. But in my area, there was such a surplus of teachers, and I knew it would be very difficult for me to get a job out of school, probably for at least 3 or 4 years. On top of that, I've been told that I wouldn't be a great teacher for high school students because I'm a bit impatient sometimes, so it's something I'm passionate about, sure. Would I make a great teacher? Maybe not. Could I get a job? Probably not. So I know people who got a psychology degree like me, or they got a philosophy degree. Unfortunately, they're now faced with a scenario where they have student debt to deal with, but they can't find a job no matter how hard they try. And this is largely why, again, you have to treat your degree to some extent as a bargaining chip to at least get your foot in different kinds of doors. Now, if we look at the starting salaries by discipline for 2018 graduates, you have computer science, engineering, and math at the top of annual earning, health sciences and businesses somewhere in the middle, and social sciences at the bottom. Now, again, I'm talking about averages here, and I don't think this chart means everybody should go into computer science. If society was only comprised of people who went into computer science, it would be terrifying. This is, again, just what average data says about what you should expect in terms of your income level based on the degree you have, and obviously there are exceptions. So that's really the first tip in deciding if you should go to college, is kind of look at jobs in your field and what you can realistically expect on average to get in the job market with the degree you earn. This kind of ties into the idea of what I said earlier, in that I chose the wrong degree by going into school for psychology, but I'm also going to explain why things kind of worked out okay, and what I ultimately think is most important. I graduated in 2018 and I walked right into a job at a digital marketing agency, so things luckily worked out. And there's really 2 main reasons why things worked out all right, and this is what I encourage other students to consider as well. Even though I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life or my career or degree, I made sure to pick a program that offered internship opportunities. Throughout college, I had 3 different internships. They were all at marketing agencies, and one of the internships I got was actually at the digital marketing agency I then walked into a job in right out of school. Internships are great because they give you real world experience, and they also teach you what you like doing and what you don't like doing. Regardless of what you go to school for, if you decide to, you have to get some experience while you're there, because that's what really makes your time in college worth it. If you just float by and you get straight A's and that's all you have to show for it, I think you've actually wasted your time. Employers, especially these days and moving forwards, I think really don't care if you got an A or a B. As long as you pass your classes and your resume can stand out from the crowd, that is what matters. So prioritize looking for programs that have internships or co-ops, and they guarantee that you're going to have some real world work experience. This matters way more than any prestigious title or a name of university, and it'll put you miles ahead of where you'd be otherwise if you just, went to class and then graduated. That's it. The second piece of advice I have for people considering going to college is, if you go, you really have to take ownership of your education and work on projects or side hustles or get multiple irons in the fire outside of your studies. For me, this was blogging. I tried drop shipping. I tried selling on Etsy. I tried running a digital marketing agency. Ultimately, what this does is it helps you get a little bit of an insurance policy. You go to school, you learn some skills, you have a piece of paper that, again, statistically helps you get more jobs. On the flip side, while the quality of education I think is pretty poor, you have this backup plan, but you're also working on these side hustles or teaching yourself new skills that, again, elevate your resume and make you stand out from the competition. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You don't need to forsake school and just start your own business. You can go to school and start a business at the same time, or teach yourself skills, or learn how to freelance, or make money while you're in school. They're not mutually exclusive to one another. Starting all of these side hustles also open the door for more opportunities and help me avoid debt, actually, as a student. Outside of that, I think college also teaches you some pretty important skills, and that's things like, how to be more of an adult, how to budget, how to live on your own, some different social things. I don't think that in and of itself is worth the cost, which is why I think, again, self-education and taking on different side hustles and more ownership of your education is important if you decide to go. I know this has been a bit more of a tangent video and a bit more of a story time kind of thing, but honestly, going to college is a pretty tough decision to make. I think the true consistent theme here is that regardless of if you choose to go to college or not, you have to treat it largely as a financial decision, and you also have to take ownership ownership of your education. If you're just going to go to college for the sake of a piece of paper and you have no intentions of continuing to take charge of your education and to learn new skills on your own, it might not be worth the money. A degree is really what you make of it at the end of the day, and it's a financial decision. If you spend $100,000 on a degree and you don't put in the time and effort, or you don't put in work to learn new skills on the side or to make the most out of your time, that money isn't worth it. At the same time, you can easily go to a state college or do an apprenticeship program or do a 2-year program or fast track your education that's much more affordable. You learn skills on the side, plus you get the value from your class and you get a degree, and you kind of get the best of both worlds. There's also nothing wrong with pursuing an on average lower paying degree than something like computer science or math. You ultimately have to play to your strengths and to just understand the financial trade-offs in every decision that you make. Now, if you decide not to go to college, or you can't afford to go to college, which is again completely understandable because education is very expensive, I think the main takeaway here is you can pursue your own education, and on average it will improve your finances. Websites like Coursera, for example, partner with over 250 leading universities and colleges to offer some free courses. edx.com is another website that partners with 2,500 plus universities and courses, and it lets you access a lot of this for free. And again, you can learn pretty much anything these days on the internet for free or for a very affordable price. I'll give you an example. One of my best friends went to school at Guelph as well for marketing. He taught himself how to program within a year out of school. And then we actually traveled throughout Colombia together, and we lived down in Florida for a bit, and he worked as a programmer. Like, that is how he paid the bills and, you know, put food on the table. So at the end of the day, you're really not bound by your degree choices or how much you spent on school, or if you went to the most prestigious school in the country or not, or even if you decide to go to school or not. I think going to college is ultimately a safe bet for most people on average, but as long as you treat it the right way and you understand the financial decision you're making. If you're just going to school for a piece of paper and you're gonna spend 100 grand, I'd probably rein back a little bit, but I also think it's a little bit harsh and a little bit unrealistic for all of these millionaires or business owners to look back in hindsight and to say, well, college wasn't worth it because I made it big without, you know, getting a formal education. The numbers really don't lie here, and on average, more education is always a good thing. So I think that is the main takeaway here at the end of the day. I'm gonna link some resources down below that provide access to free or affordable courses or education so you can learn different skills. I hope if you're on the fence and you're unsure of what to do in terms of going to college or not, this at least helps you reframe how you think about it. If you've gone to college and you have some thoughts on this topic, on if it's worth the cost or not, let me know down in the comments. I know it's, again, a pretty controversial issue, so I'd love to hear what the general consensus is on if college is worth it or not. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate, you know, the recent support and all the comments, and I'm happy that some younger viewers are watching this content so they can maybe approach the decision of going to college or not with a bit more of a financial perspective in mind. As always, if you don't want to miss when new videos come out, be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to check out thisonlineworld.com for more unique ways to make and save money. I hope you all have a great day, and I will catch you guys in the next one.